one of my favorite things to do is to do a spiritual cinema, and that's because I love stories and I love seeing the spiritual angle that I see in a story. Hey guys, I'm KALYN. I have been a teacher of spirituality for over 20 years. I've written some books. I've taken people on journeys all over the world. I have meditation groups. I love it. I love helping people get in the flow, raising their frequency, helping them get to a place that is effortless attraction, because making things happen is extremely difficult and it's exhausting. Effortlessly attracting is the way to go, and you do it by raising your frequency, getting in the flow. Now, today's spiritual cinema is the Romanoffs. Now, the Romanoffs has been very interesting. I can't remember what network we're watching it on, so I'll try to put that in the description. And I can't remember which episode I'm talking to you about, because we're like at episode 5 or 6 out of 6 or 7, something like that. And each episode is a totally different cast. So the stories change. It's not, contiguous. So in this episode, it's really interesting. Spoiler alert, you might want to watch it first. There's a couple, and she is a Romanoff descendant, and they go to Russia because they haven't been able to get pregnant. It's been 15 years. For 15 years, they've been saving $50,000 to go and pay the adoption fee to get a healthy Russian baby, or at least that's what they were told, and to bring it back home to the States. So what happens in the story, spoiler alert, is they're so excited, and they go and they finally get to see the baby, and the baby is like comatose. And at first they're so excited, and it's really cute. They're doing the googly face. They're like, "Oh, you're so cute, you're so cute, you're so cute, you're so cute." And but the baby's just, well, they don't show you, and we're like, what's wrong with the baby? Because something's obviously not happening. And it turns out, there is something in fact wrong with the baby. And so the couple has this horrendous fight where she's going, I'm not adopting this baby, and he's going, what are you freaking talking about? We've been waiting 15 years. We came all the way here, saved all this money. You wanted a baby so bad. We both wanted a baby so bad. And she's like, yeah, but you know what? When it comes right down to it, I can't do a special needs. I can't. I just can't. So they're having this big major fight, and I just, and then they go to the adoption center, and they're like, look, there's something wrong with the baby. And the adoption center's like, no, there's nothing wrong. You're getting the baby you always wanted. You just need to spend more time with her. Why don't we bring her back? And they're like, no. You don't understand. We paid the fee. We were expecting a healthy baby. We're not taking an unhealthy child. And they, within their research, they find out that some of these babies, or not their research, but their experience, they find out that some of these babies have burn marks. They meet another couple that has gotten their baby, and he has cigarette burn marks or cigar. The adoption coordinator, I think she is, she tells them some of these babies, their parents, they can't be adopted, because they see this cute little girl and they're like, why isn't she adopted? And she's like, well, her parents dropped her off, because you could drop them off if you need to temporarily, but the parents never come back. And the parents have this hope that they'll be able to get enough money and they'll be able to get their baby back. In other words, they can't afford their child, right? And so they won't sign off to give the child up for adoption, but then the child's at the orphanage, and now their parents can't make it work, but they haven't surrendered them, so they're not adoptable. So all these terrible things, and she's like, and then these babies grow up and they have their own babies, and then we've got their babies here at the adoption place, So the spiritual part now, what I'm getting to, this sounds like hell. It just sounds like absolute hell. I'm sitting there kind of in horror. I'm not so naive that I don't know about these things. I have spent some of my life in a third world country. I understand. It doesn't make it more palatable. It doesn't make it more correct. It still makes it just it's as bad of a taste in my mouth as it ever would be and ever will be, because it rings wrongness in me, that these children are mistreated the way, sometimes I would say, in my opinion, sometimes the way animals are mistreated in the US, but they're doing it to children. And then I'm also like thinking about this couple that goes all the way. They've gone through all these things. She tried all these things to get fertile, and and they've done so much to try to get a baby, and then they're all the way there, and they're getting like this child that she's like not even sure it's gonna live, kind of thing. And I just think that would be so heartbreaking. And I think it would be so easy to do something unspiritual and go into blame, or unspiritual and think that you're being punished by God and be like, how could God do this to me? What did I do to deserve this punishment? Those are not aligned to a spiritual path. This isn't the way God or the universe or whatever you want to call it operates. There's no judgment and there's no punishment. There's no reward, there's no punishment. But I could see how it would be so easy to feel that way. It would be so hard, or to be one of these children. And so the spiritual part of this, drum roll please, sorry, I'm trying to be as succinct as I can, it is so easy for us to have our egos tell us that our lives suck, that we've got it so hard, that nothing ever works out for us, or something like that. When we a lot of us that are watching this video, generally speaking, like especially if you're in the US and stuff, not everyone, but a lot of people don't have it that bad. Or maybe it's not great, but it's not like, what would you do if you were in one of these situations? I mean, these are very deeply difficult situations. Deeply difficult. It isn't like my husband had an affair or I got fired. Those are bad. I'm not telling you that those aren't like unfun. I'm not saying that you should be grateful. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that life can really be so much worse. And what I'm really saying is that when we don't judge, we can keep things in perspective. Sorry about all the noise. I hope it's not bothering you. When we don't judge and we just sit there and go, this is what it is. And if I'm unhappy, if it's bothering me, if it's making me mad, if it's making me sad, I'm going to get in the flow with it. We change everything because we change ourselves. We change our energy. That's the only thing you can really do to affect real change. You're not going to change what's happening or not happening, whether it's in Russia or somewhere else. You're not going to change what's happening with your spouse or whatever, right? You're not going to be able to change the world, but you can recognize that feeling punished isn't going to help. Getting in the flow is. How do you get in the flow? I'm all about getting in the flow. I'm all about raising my energy or helping you raise yours so that you have a better experience and a more effortless manifesting process. And you get in the flow by flowing your energy. If you want to learn how to flow your energy, check out the link below to my newsletter where you can sign up and get a free class on getting in the flow. Getting in the flow is a very wonderful and positive experience. People always feel better afterwards, and it really helps you. It really changes you. It helps you tap into energy. It's phenomenal. So life is always going to be life, but who you are and how you experience it can definitely be turned around. Thank you for joining me in this spiritual cinema. I hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to comment below and give me one of these, and I will catch you next time.